Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin, and of course, you knew that. And if you didn't know that, you will know it now. And I have a little show called Positive Talk, and we feature some of the best people from across the globe of what they do and unique ways of accomplishing things in life that you may have been told when you were a kid or you were floundering in high school. Oh, no, you're never going to be able to do that. You're just going to be, less than. And our guest today, her name is Melissa LaPlante, and she is, and I hope I said that right. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect. And she has a website, which I want you to follow along, which is Boxless Business, BOXLESS business.com, because she's got a method that can help businesses thrive, grow, and utilize all the talent that they might not even realize is available to them within their own organizations. Melissa, have I said that close to being right?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely.
And it's important for people to know, because before the show started, I mentioned the fact that when you look at my resume, first of all, it looks like I can't keep a job. But secondly,
I relate to that so hard. Yeah.
I've done so many things, and I've been a district sales manager. I had 11 reports. I've been a general manager. I had 75 people report to me. I was a national sales manager for a poultry company. And stuff, and people would say, my, you must be an educated man. And I say, yeah, I was educated, but it was through experience, not being in college necessarily. Because I took a sales class in college. I got nothing out of it because the professor had never been an up and down the street cold calling magical sales guy. He had read a book.
I can't deal with the idea of those that can't teach, because if you haven't done, you shouldn't be teaching. Period.
Shouldn't be teaching something that requires a set of skills that
you don't have.
Yeah, that's why. That's why you're a teacher.
Yes, it's why I teach what I teach. It's why, in fact, I just put the finishing pretties on my new course that I'm releasing for Boxless Business. So yes, I love to teach. That's my favorite thing in the world, is to walk around and give you information you didn't even know you wanted.
Well, and your story is quite involving, starting when you were 8 years old, and you were bored. So you went to a business and said, I'm bored. Give me something to do.
Absolutely. You know what? I love to read. I taught myself to read when I was 2, perks of autism, I guess. And I would read everything, read the cereal box, read the shampoo bottle. And when there was nothing else to read and nothing else to do and nothing else to build and nothing else to dig up in the dirt out in the back, I found some cool stuff. I was just like, okay, I got to go find something to do. I can't. I've always been a proactive human, and I have to just be working towards something every moment of every day. That's just who I am. It's in my DNA. And so, yes, I walked out of the womb and right into corporate. Dead seriously.
Well, and they taught you how to file. They taught you all kinds of things within the nature of the company, and they actually gave you a little bit of a paycheck. Probably
they did. I don't even remember what it was. I think it was like $20 or something. I was so excited because I had worked hard for that, and I learned things, and I was proud of myself. And
what did your parents think of you going to work so young?
My mom was amused. She was just kind of like, wow, I don't really know what to do with that. And it certainly was something that is ingrained in my DNA because, unfortunately, my bio mom, was disabled and she didn't work at all. And so it wasn't something that was a learned behavior for me. It was literally just this inner desire to build, create, and do.
Where do you think that came from?
My father, even though I didn't, I moved in with him when I was a kid, when I was 13, and he was always a self-taught entrepreneur, from a young age. And he finally found his passion when I taught him how to use computers, and he taught himself how to be a computer programmer. And this was back in the 90s. So he had to download tutorials, and we'd be like, let's go out to dinner. We're downloading a file. Right. And he built an entire software development company and became the senior systems architect for an aeronautic space company, all within the span of a decade. Self-taught, no high school diploma. And he was also a humanitarian. It's his legacy that I am continuing on. And I think that it's really powerful that I got to witness that journey that he took. And oddly enough, he passed away when I was quite young. I was 24. And he was a year older than I am now, 44 years old when he passed away. And I keep realizing that I have followed in his footsteps unintentionally over and over and over again, right down to becoming a programmer. Because right now I'm teaching myself Python so that I can build AI-powered assessment tool that builds my AI assessments, and I don't have to do it manually anymore, because that would be amazing and time-saving.
Yep.
So, but it's very interesting. I don't plan on dying that young, though. I'm pretty stubborn in that respect. I got a lot to do. I got a lot to finish that he started,
Well, what's interesting about all of that is that, and I mentioned it beforehand, is that there are a lot of companies. They put out one ad for somebody, for a programmer or something like that, and they say, no, you need to have a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
And you need to be versed in all these things, and so a lot of people that don't have a 4-year degree but have learned through doing, which, by the way, I think is a better way to learn anyway.
100%.
And they don't even apply. So think of, if you are a business owner, think of the number of people that you are missing. Yeah. that you are missing out on, because they can be remarkable human beings. I'll give you an example. When I was, I graduated from high school, but I was working for the DoubleTree. I was a bartender there at that time, and they wanted to see if I could go into management. And so they gave me a test, an aptitude test. How good are you at sales? How good are you at management? And all that kind of stuff. Because the boss wanted to hire me, but his assistant said, no, I think we need to put this guy through a test to see if he's got aptitude for this. Right. And so he did. And it turned out, and it's absolutely proven to be true, I'm in the top 50% of salespeople.
Nice. I don't doubt that in the slightest, because the base of sales is human connection, and you're really good at that. So that's definitely not surprising to me.
But the one thing that they did do and said was, they sat in the room and they said, on the management portion, we've never had anybody get all the questions right before.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I love that.
And I said, I did. And they said, yeah. And well, okay, there was one question that you got the second best answer, but everyone else was the best answer. And so they hired me to go into management, and I flourished ever since. But it's amazing, because I would never have thought that I would have been good at that. I hoped I would be, but I didn't think that, because I didn't have the education, and I didn't have all the things that this society specifically tells you that you need.
Absolutely. It's the boxed approach. To fit in the box, you must do X, Y, Z. And that's why that is literally the basis and heart of Boxless Business, right? It's taking those labels out of it, right? All kinds of labels. It's taking your hierarchy labels out. It's taking the label of, like, I have a need and you need to meet this need because I'm this label, right? As a person who is on the autism spectrum, I'm ADHD. I have a lot of awareness of the things I need to thrive, right? And so I don't, however, expect a business to drop millions of dollars redoing all the lighting in their building and educating every single person on staff about all the possible things that autism and ADHD can present as, and all that. How about if what my need is I need just a little bit darker office, give me a little bit darker office, problem solved. And I don't need a label to tell you that that's what I need to thrive. It's one-to-one problem solving, right? It's what I call, and I guess I should explain when we get to it, of course, the 3 parts of my method, but that goes into the work DNA aspect. Like, how does your employee thrive? What environment, things do they need? Not because they're this or that. I don't believe in disability. I believe the system is disabling. I once saw a man with no legs run Olympic track.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's powerful and that's possible. If given the opportunities, if treated with the one-to-one, problem solution ratio. I have a need. Here's what you need to meet that need. And we don't have to have a whole one size fits all approach about it,
Why do you think it is? Because I really honestly don't know. It would make a hell of a lot more sense to me to try and meet each employee's needs where they are, so that they have the opportunity to turn in the best performance possible. Why do you think it is that some employers and some CEOs will say, oh no, this is the way we've always done it, and this is how it's got to be, and we're not going to make any special arrangements for anybody? Because then everybody will want special. I don't know what their process.
You answered your own question right there. That is what they believe. Then everybody will want special treatment. Okay. So if it's a need that can be met, that's reasonable, right? I'm not saying you're going to grant your employees like, oh, I definitely need 6 months a year off because no, I'm saying if they want noise canceling headphones, if they want a quieter office, if Wednesdays, they need to be off by 2 p.m. because they pick up their kid for soccer practice and it's really important to them. These are the types of accommodations that are easy to make when you have a physics-based system, because when you have a physics-based system like I design, then other people can be cross-utilized to fill the need. And also you create a workspace and workflow environment that is sustainable so that needs can be met easily without there being large, expensive changes to do it. And the whole idea of, well, then everybody will want that. Everybody should have that. Everybody should have access to the things they need to thrive, to work for your business. If you're working for me and I want you to make me millions of dollars, I'm going to make you as damn comfortable and happy as I can so that you are killing it and I'm getting that millions of dollars, right? So, it doesn't make any sense to have the we've always done it that way approach, especially when it comes to degrees. What my favorite question to ask people is when they give me the line of you have to have this degree or that degree. It's a question I actually thought of once just to myself. And then I giggled for about 15 minutes at the idea of saying it to people who push back, which is this. Cool. Tell me where Thomas Edison got his electrical engineering degree.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Where did Plato get his philosophy degree? Where did Leonardo da Vinci get his architecture degree? He didn't. They didn't. They're self-taught. They tried and they learned and they built and they learned from each other and they learned from, trial and error. And, it took poor Thomas Edison 8,000 times before his light bulb worked, 7,999 notes before finally going, oh my God, I see the light, literally.
But isn't that how it's supposed to be? And something that you said earlier, that I want to touch on again, and we're going to touch on it more, because when you keep yourself and your company in a box, you are thwarting your ability to innovate and to change and to come up with new thoughts and new ideas. One of the things that you mentioned to me before we began this show is because of the position, quote unquote, that you held and the lack of title, that you held when you came up with a great idea that could save them a lot of money. Oh, no, she's not in research and development, so
Yeah,
she
exactly,
doesn't
right?
know anything.
Yeah, and it was such a genius idea. To this day, I use it as an example of one-to-one problem solving in workflows that I suggest to companies. At the time, I was working for a global BPO, which for those who don't know what that is, they're basically an outsourcing company. They take on the outsourced customer calls from a company. And the client I was working on happened to be a large conglomerate cable company. They were my client. And I had a team of 30, IT techs whose job was to fix people's issues, right? And something that I kept noticing when I listened to the calls. So by the way, that recording that you hear, your calls may be reviewed for quality. Yeah, no, that really happens. And it is really boring. I need you to know that. But anyway, so as I would sit there and listen to these calls, I discovered a common problem in a four-way interaction problem. So you had half your customer base who they don't want to be talked at, right? Well, first, let's back up. You have the company size initiative, one size fits all initiative, never leave dead air. You were in sales. There was a sales element to this tech job. So you are familiar with what these initiatives look like when they say, okay, never leave dead air on the call, build rapport, show empathy, and sell, right?
Right.
And so, however, you have your customers who call in and they're upset, not just about what's going on with the cable call. Okay. Their mom died 3 days ago. Like they're really going through it. Right. And they don't want a conversation. They don't want to talk. Right. And then you have your customers who they need you to be speaking every moment or breathing heavily at the very least. So they know you're alive and doing your work. Right. Then on the other end, I swear you have little old ladies, are you still there? You just said something 10 seconds ago, but they want to make sure you're still there. And that's fair, right? Because how hard is it to get through to some of these agents? Sometimes you don't want to lose one in the middle of being helped. So I absolutely get every point of view on all the sides, right? But you go inside and you had your techs who are chatty rock stars, okay? They loved to chat it up while they did their tech work. It didn't take away from their efficiency to do it. They were really good at it. They enjoyed it, whatever. And then you had your agents who the social aspect was massive struggle for them. They're in IT. They do this because they know how to fix IT. They don't want to strike up a social conversation with you while they're fixing your IT because then it takes away from their ability to fix your IT. And so
especially when you don't know anything about the IT that you're doing.
Right. And so what is one solution that solves absolutely everyone's problem, no matter how often it changes? You go to your IVR programmer. That's a little dude that programs the press 1 for this, press 2 for that options. Okay. And you tell him, add a prompt. Press 1 if you'd like a conversational experience with your tech today. Press 2 if you'd like a quiet experience where the tech just lets you know when the job is done. Every single time the customer calls, they can decide whether they're in the mood to chit chat or not. And your rock star chatty agents, put them on the chatty line. Your quiet agents, put them on the quiet line. And guess what? Bob comes in. He's normally chatty as all get out, but his grandma died yesterday and he just doesn't have it in him to make small talk. Put him on the quiet line this week, right? Like meet your employees' needs, meet your customers' needs. And guess what? You're already paying your IVR. You spent nothing. And these are the simple solutions that I designed for workflow that really literally save corporations millions of dollars instead of throwing these one-size-all-fit initiatives like whoever has the best rapport score KPI at the end of the week gets a pizza party. Oh my God, please, no more pizza. We can't do any more pizza. I cannot eat another piece of pizza.
But that's team building, don't you know? By the way, we're talking with Melissa LaPlante, and we need to take a break. And when we come back, go to our website again, by the way, which is boxlessbusiness.com, because she teaches you and your company to think outside of the box, because that's where gold is, and that's where real success can happen. Speaking of real success, Are you interested in being a real estate agent and be successful? Are you a real estate agent and ain't so successful? It's a tough time right now. I'm going to play you a commercial from somebody who can legitimately, honestly, truthfully help you live and create the company that you want to create when you're selling real estate. Stay with us.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Melissa LaPlante is, I love that last name, by the way.
Thanks.
But LaPlante, I know what's your dad's name and rest his soul. And I'm sorry that he wasn't around longer, but when you were 13, you taught him how to work on a computer, how to do these things that he ended up being a remarkably successful human being, somebody that had no education. But what was it about him? Because I know he was a truck driver and he did things like that. But what was it about him that told him innately that he could do these things? A lot of people feel like, I don't have the education, I can't do it. But he thought, maybe it was because you're such a great teacher, but he figured that he could do it.
You know what? I think I wish I could ask him, but I do know what his motivation was to strive to be able to do what he wanted to do. And it's the same motivation that I have. It's God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, and helping your fellow man. So he strived to make six figures, not because he wanted to take trips and buy a bunch of stuff. He would spend his money buying top of the line $300 Coleman Sub-Zero sleeping bags and hand them out to the homeless people on the side of the street. He would take $20 bills to the mall during Christmas and hand them out to families that he thought looked like they need a little help buying stuff for their kids this year. People would ask him, how much did you hand out at the mall today? And he'd say, that is between me and God. He would buy full kits for making holiday dinners on Christmas or Thanksgiving and just leave it all down the porches of a neighborhood that had no money. Knock and leave, not wait for them to answer, not take the credit for it. He never wanted credit for what he did. He just wanted to be able to help people. He also worked very closely with an organization called Faith Seeds that provided a second chance to ex-convicts to become entrepreneurs because, hey, you've got entrepreneurial skills. You were running a drug lord business. You can run a legit business. I mean, truly, though, and helping bring Jesus into their lives. And I am not religious, but I am deeply spiritual. I wear a cross because I'm a big fan of Jesus, because he's just a cool dude. He was the first outside of the box thinker, for sure. I use the laws of physics in what I do, but a lot of people try to separate physics and science from spirituality. And I say that physics is the language by which to describe the beauty that we cannot explain. Right?
Yep. You are exactly right.
I combine all of those ideas to make Boxless Business because the three parts of my methodology are the physics of success, which literally is just designing, workflows and positioning your employees in a way and that is, based in physics. So it's sustainable. And sustainability is not just a buzzword right now. I mean, it's a very popular buzzword, but there's a reason we need it, right? And it's not just sustainability in the environment, but it's, are you sustainably paying your employees? Is the workload sustainable? Is the processes sustainable, et cetera? Or are the processes sustainable? Forgive me, bad grammar. And so the physics of success, but the second part and what I design assessments around so that these companies can hire, upskill, and cross-utilize is something I designed called abundance banking. And abundance banking is the idea that each human being is in a bank account of their abundance of wealth, of knowledge, experience, just like all the skills you gained in the years that you did what you did that led you to upskill and to do the things that you did to become into management, et cetera, that those all still live in your abundance bank account, right? And
Yep.
the thing is that, you know, my company is called the Self-Awareness Project, LLC, CELLF, and that's because we're each a cell in the greater organism, and we each have what I call a cellular purpose, a thing we were designed by God to do. Your inner talents and your inner passions and your inner motivations and the way that you work and the way that you thrive, it's all on purposely put together and designed to go with the flow of physics, mind you. And just like anything else, right? You don't, no one sits there and tells a flower what its next move is, right? I've never once ever seen a flower pick up Cosmo magazine to see how to be a flower, or tune into Fox News to make sure it's safe from all the other flowers and following the flower rules. And I've definitely never seen flower TMZ. Okay. So if a flower doesn't need to be told every single thing, neither do the cells in your organization. I don't have to tell my liver cells every day to be liver cells, or my heart cells every day to be heart cells, right? And so it's about understanding the entire abundance portfolio of assets your company has. Let's say you have Ted and he's an accountant and he's got a CPA certification. And I'm not against degrees and certifications. I want to be clear. Sometimes they're necessary legally for what you do, right? But that doesn't mean if Ted is a CPA in accounting, but he has a weird knack for marketing, no background, no job history, no schooling, just gets it. Pull him in on the marketing meeting. He is a resource, right? Even just his mind to think about things, to come up with ideas, right? And so what I do is I build assessments to help companies hire through the same way that you were talking about how you took the aptitude test to see if you could be in management. You know, it's the same kind of thing to see if they can do the skills required of the job, and if they have a growth ability, if they're coachable, and if they're open to the idea of being moved around versus, you know, being one solid boxed in title, right? And then I have assessments for upskilling where you can literally log in to your platform and say, okay, I want to see if there's anything new I'd like to try as an employee, right? And you could just be like, let me try this assessment. And it'll come back and give you, you know, your score and be like, hey, you're really strong here. You might want to learn more about this, whatever, right? And then it's your leadership's job to look at that data and you know, they can work with me too, right? To figure out where that best placement would be, right? And then I also have assessments for cross-utilization. Same thing. I took this, you know, oh, I want to work on this project and these are the available open spots and I want to try this one. Let me take the assessment for this one, right? This way, you are building a collaboration versus competition environment. You are utilizing every actual human resource. You know, you're getting your full ROI on what your onboarding costs are. You're also cutting costs for onboarding because you're valuing your employees at their fullest capacity, all their skills, all their talents, and you're meeting their needs one-to-one in a cost-efficient manner for the company that's also, you know, within the basis of reality, right? You know, plus you're cutting costs for outsourcing because you don't need to outsource if you have the talent within your own pool to work on projects, right? And it really takes away this idea of, you know, the need for specific skills and degrees. And if there is a specific certification you need and you take the aptitude test, they should provide you the access to get that certification so that you can become more valuable to the company, right? And so then, of course, the third part is the self-awareness method. And that's literally the method to act with intention. And if every cell in your organization is clear on their roles and what they do and how they can show up and provide abundance, right? Then, you know, you have everyone with the same goal acting in a massively intentional manner with the laws of physics. So let me ask you something. There's a soccer ball sitting on a field and you go and kick the ever-living crap out of it. What's going to happen to the soccer ball?
I'm probably going to lose it.
It's going to the stratosphere, right? It's just going to go really as far as it's going to go. It's the same thing when you kick your business into hyperdrive with physics and you plan it the way that you know, instead of 75 sign-offs for one process where you're toe tapping the ball across infinity.
Exactly. And again, by the way, we were talking to Melissa LaPlante, and we need to take our station break. But when we come back, I want to ask her if she can identify the one. I know that you've seen a lot of P&Ls, which are profit and loss statements.
Mm-hmm.
And the profit and loss statement has how much revenue that you had and what your expenses were,
and
all that kind of stuff. There is one aspect of running a business that is I have never seen it. And I'm going to ask you if you have. I've never seen it on a P&L, and it can be one of the most devastating reasons why a business will fail. I'm going to make you wait for 1 minute and 10 seconds to get the answer to that. We'll be right back with Melissa, and go to our website again, which is boxlessbusiness.com, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We got a great guest here. She's very articulate. She's very smart. And she's very gifted at what she does. And she's got a program out. And I want to read you the mission statement. But before I do that, I want to ask you about the line on the P&L that is never there, that impacts a business. And I don't expect you to know this because I just made it up in my own pea brain, but it's not on the P&L, but it affects your business greatly. And because if you don't provide your employees with not only a good job and meeting their basic needs, but a roadmap of how they can learn more, of how they can be more, of how they can be more important. And sometimes those people, if you don't allow that and you just say, no, you know, you're doing this job and you're good at this job, and so this is the job that you're going to have. And they may say, no, you know, there's somebody else out there who wants me for me. And so they leave. And so the line on the P&L, I've never seen the cost of turnover or the amount per position that you turn over and how much it affects the bottom line. Have you ever?
Not to date. But that's interesting. I wonder, because I know as a business, when I run my P&L, it's automatic with what I use, right? The QuickBooks
right.
and whatnot. So I'll have to look. I know mine personally doesn't have that section. To be fair, I only have contracted employees, so that's probably why. But no, that's very interesting. And it is a huge loss that they're taking because, you know, they're paying for, especially companies with really high turnover that just aren't getting it, right? They're seeing their employees as a disposable resource, like paper cups,
yep.
Right? And it's like, when you use disposable resources of any kind as a business, you're killing your overall bottom line. Something I like to explain a lot about the one size fits all approaches that I see a lot of companies take with company initiatives, both for their employees, their policies, whatever, right? And it's a physics explanation, but thermodynamics basically explains that energy cannot be created or destroyed. The
Right.
amount of energy in the universe is finite, right? So the amount of energy you have to put towards problem solving in your business, whether it be resources of money, time, people, etc. If you, like most companies I see, they tend to do a catch-all policy for things that basically puts a blanket on the what ifs, right? Focusing all their energy on preventative problem solving. Okay. Now, here's where that goes wildly wrong. Okay. You have all your resources focused on these one size fits all initiatives for whatever it is, whether it be HR, whether it be sales, whatever, right? And then you have the law of uncertainty, which states that you cannot know if something's moving. If you know exactly how fast something's moving, you don't know where it is exactly, and vice versa, right? Which means you can't predict unpredictable problems. Okay, they just can't happen. They just can't happen. So then here comes those problems that fall under the unpredictability sector. Now all your energy is over here, and you have to take from that energy and put it towards the actual problems. Now you have minimized effort in all areas, solving nothing and taking double the resources. Whereas when you actually identify your current organizational problems, your friction points, what your vectors are, and you streamline that, then you're cutting through that, and you're focused all your energy on the problems that are actually there, and you're solving them with one-to-one problem solving methods that are cost efficient, and all your energy to problem solve is always available for the problems that are actually there, right? Be vigilant, predict the oncoming problems close enough in a time to be able to solve them, of course, but don't throw one size fits all measures at it and just hope for the best. And then when the real problems come that don't fall under the one size fits all, or for the fact that they are one size fits all, they don't, the energy is just too dispersed to do any real difference.
And when we talk about energy, and you're talking about culture, and which, by the way, energy or culture is a form of energy. There are companies that have got great cultures that they vibrate at a high level, and everybody's vested in the work that they're doing. Everybody believes in the work that they're doing. Everybody is looking to do more so that they can improve their own personal situations and stuff. If you've got a negative culture, then you're vibrating, or the energy is lower in the entire building. You can actually feel the difference between a high energy
100% you can,
and a low energy company. It really is amazing.
It is amazing. And I want to actually touch on something we were talking about a little bit earlier, how we talked about everybody will want it kind of aspect. When you think of the world's most successful company and brand that there is, they own something of everything, and you can't turn a corner without, you can't go without using it in a day. Who is that to you?
To me, to me, that would be like a Microsoft, since I do a lot of computer work, or actually it would be, let me see. Like Comcast or something, because every day, every day.
Going a little bigger than that. I'm thinking Google. So
Google, yes.
Google owns the world. The other half is owned by Meta. And so when you think of how successful they are as a brand, you have to wonder, okay, what is their work environment like? Well, I happen to know of a story that I read years ago, that there was an engineer that worked there who his office was a ball pit, like Chuck E. Cheese. That's what he thrived in. His whole setup was a giant ball pit, and he would jump in his little ball pit and run around and have ideas and code his engineering stuff. And he was okay. But But that's such a ridiculously trivial thing that any normal corporation would be like, why would I give you that? You know what? He thrived in that environment. So why would you not? Who cares what people think? You know what I mean? It's stop trying to be in the box, right? And let's just say the box itself isn't, no one fits in it. It's a pre-designed idea that we're all fed, because it's really easy to mass produce one pair of jeans if everybody thinks that's the pair they have to wear to fit in the box. It's real easy to decide between 3 sodas if those are the only 3 that fit in the box, right? And so, but the problem with the box is it's not sustainable. And, you know, Harvard Business did a study this year or last, I forget how recent it was that I read it, but not that long ago, that companies that are showing up sustainably are 400% more times profitable than their non-sustainable counterparts. It's not even a choice anymore whether you want to show up sustainably and provide these work environments for your employees, to give employees choices besides having to go to college. Because let's face it, Gen Z, my daughter is Gen Z, she's 18 now, and she wants to go to college, but she's one of few. Most Gen Z and younger are like, I don't want the debt. I just want the knowledge. So I'm going to seek out the knowledge myself and skip the bureaucratic molasses, right? And so, you know, if companies want to stay relevant, want to stay profitable, want to stay in business, want to not overspend on every godforsaken thing, then they're going to have to implement some idea. And I'm pretty sure mine's one of the only one out there doing what I do. So, you know, it's, you know, but I mean, you've got to show up in the manner that goes with the laws of physics, not against, right? And, you know, it's the reason my humanitarian mission is to help as many businesses become collaborative over competition internally, so that I can couple them on global projects for humanity externally. Could you imagine a Google, LG, Samsung tech solution to a humanitarian based problem?
That would be amazing. That would be really something. Because what do you think? And I was just thinking about, what do you think AI is going to do all of this stuff in the business?
Oh, I love AI so much. So I'm so glad you asked me that. I honestly am so glad you asked me that, because as a person who grew up in the era of the internet being born, I feel like I am watching the same hysteria with AI that came with the internet. It's going to replace our jobs and this and that and the other. But you know what? Here's my take on it. One, learn AI, right? Because if you feel like you're going to be replaced by AI cannot be run without human generation. There has to be a human to program it. There has to be a human to refine it. I use AI in my work constantly, but not in a way that where it's doing things for me, but in a way that I am, you know, using it to like brainstorm an idea, and then it gives me an efficient way to go about testing the idea. And then I can do that. You know what I mean? It's not just about having it, you know, do machine learning, right? It's an exceptional tool. In fact, I have a ton of friends who are CEOs like myself. I'm a member of a business club where I see them all the time. And I've never met one who doesn't jokingly agree with me that, you know, ChatGPT is our silent business partner. So, you know, I think that AI, it would be great if we could use AI to replace toilet cleaners and make, you know, give people the ability to do more with their lives, right? Like, you know, it's okay to grow. It's okay to expand. But you as a person also have to grow and expand. I am in a constant pursuit of self-growth. Like, that's my state of being. My favorite quote, and I feel very blessed. I actually heard her speak this in person prior to her passing away. Maya Angelou said, do your best until you know better, then do better. Right. And so, you know, for those who are afraid that AI is going to replace them, you know, it can be used in such a ridiculously helpful way to grow as a person. Right. You can make a meal plan with it. You can make a schedule with it. You can, you know, ask it to act as, a planner for something and help you work. I mean, it's not just about people's jobs. It's a really exceptional tool to use to learn and to grow and to, obviously fact check, because nothing is always right. Not even your college professor. So, but yeah, I think AI is definitely the future of business in many ways. But I also know that one of the best ways to use it is to increase the ability to work fluidly with our human assets, right? And something I call it, instead of ROI, is ROE. It's return on energy, right? And the energy that you put into your workforce and your workflows, that's the direct output of what your business is doing. If you want your business to grow, to be innovative, to be cost efficient, to be sustainable, then you have to make these changes.
You do. And by the way, if you are somebody, and I there's somebody in our audience and knows somebody that is a nephew or a son or a daughter or somebody like that, who really, really, really doesn't want to go to college, doesn't, as you said, incur the, what is it now? It could be as much as 150 grand.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Of debt that you can accrue over that time. And so, and this is something that I would love for our elected leaders to look at and to do, is to fund trade schools. If you have, my son, as an example, is a diesel mechanic. He knew he wanted to be a mechanic from the time he was 15 years old. And so he went to a trade school and he learned how to be a diesel mechanic. Now, fast forward 15 years, now that he's learned his craft and read schematics, and he now works on cranes and those big ass huge cranes.
Now I know what cranes are. Yeah, they're giant.
And they're little ones, and then there are the big ones. And
hey, I've seen the big ones. Yeah, we've got some floating around Kansas City right now.
Yeah, and they are, they're on the waterfront, although they're not being used currently because of the tariffs. Anyway, that's a personal thing. Anyway, but he's now making, well into six figures, because he is a mechanic who's got skills. And so there's a lot of kids are being, oh no, you can't do that. You have to go to college and get a 4-year degree. And then they're all of 22 or 23 and they have no earthly idea what they want to do.
Right. Well, and then what's worse is that you've got these kids who are pushed into specific degrees because it's a legacy degree. Well, my father did that, and my father's father did that, and my father's father did that, so you'll do that too. And they don't want that. That's not the life. And a lot of times, and that is one of the biggest things that I talk about when it comes to looking at someone's resume. Just because they have the degree and the skills doesn't mean they have the desire. Doesn't mean they want the job. They're just doing it because that's the status quo that's always been done in their family, and that's what's expected of them. And so they do. And they're miserable and they're not good performers, right? You want people who want to be there, who want to do the job. And when it comes to learning, I am self-taught in everything, including quantum physics. So how did I teach myself quantum physics? Well, I found free resources. And every time I didn't understand something, I Googled what that something was and I figured it out. And, MIT has an entire free library, and I spent a lot of time inside that, buddy, reading a lot of physics stuff. I've also actually gone to the lengths to find Pythagoras's actual works and read them, and Einstein's actual works and read them, and and things like that. And so, I am jealous of the kids that are growing up in schooling these days, because they can go into ChatGPT and say, you are acting as an expert in history. Give me the top 5 best books to read about this, or tell me, step by step how this works, whatever. Like, there are so many options these days. You can learn through audiobooks. There are a bazillion apps. I'm actually teaching myself Python coding and trying to brush up my physics math using an app called Brilliant, which is literally just a learning app that makes it fun. It's I really enjoy it.
Well, the cool thing is, in this day and age, if you want to learn something, there's a way for you to learn it.
Exactly.
And are you familiar with who Greg Braden is?
Yes.
I interviewed him in 2003.
How cool.
And He came on to the show. Now, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's quantum physics. He's written many, many books on it, and he's very, very versed in it. And when I said, "Hi, Greg, it's nice to meet you. Tell me exactly what is quantum physics," I didn't understand a word he said from then on to the very end, because it was like, "Oh, okay. I don't know."
That's one thing I really enjoy doing, is breaking it down for the everyday person. When I teach people, so I had a course I was teaching forever and a day called The Physics of Success. And it was literally just breaking down goal setting, action taking, and achievement against the laws of physics, right? But I explain it in such a way that is in metaphors and visual pictures and examples. And that's kind of my God-given gift, and why I enjoy teaching, because I know how to take complex material and make it so a 5-year-old could understand it. And Einstein said, if you are a master of nothing, if you cannot explain it to a 5-year-old.
Well, and I need you to explain that, because I feel like sometimes in these realms, I'm a 5-year-old. Listen, we've got to take our last break. And then when we come back, I want to make sure that we get all the information out about you, your program, how to reach you, all of that kind of good stuff. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and Melissa LaPlante is our guest. And we're looking forward to this final segment, but this is just 30 seconds. Everybody relax. We'll be right back.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, everybody. And Melissa LaPlante is with us today. And go to our website, which is boxlessbusiness.com. But we've got like 8 minutes left, and I want to give you all the time that you need to tell everybody who you are, why they should work with you, and how they can benefit you, them, their company, their employees, anybody that is in their world, how you can help them.
Awesome. Yeah. So Melissa LaPlante, the Boxless Business Coach and Consultant. And just a quick side story, I got deemed that because over my entire life and career, people have always said to me, God, you think so far outside of the box. And my response was always, I don't have one. I'm boxless. And so that's kind of how that came to be. And I design physics-based workforce and workflow solutions that maximize your ROI and cut costs. And right now, I actually am in the process of uploading my course, which I do need beta testers for. And so if you'd be willing to do like a 15-minute research call with me and answer some questions about the industry, I would give you free access to the course, which will eventually be a paid course, but it's called the Box Breaker Blueprint. And they can just reach out to me, LaPlante at boxlessbusiness.com, if they're interested in booking that call and doing no sales, just research. I don't like selling. It's so funny because I have such a long history in corporate sales, and I actually hate it. I just know I'm really good at what I do, and I want to be found. So
you deserve to be found, because
thank you.
The work that you're doing can really change the entire culture and operation of a business, which not only changes the business and can make it more profitable, but it also positively affects their employees. And if they have a better work experience, that can infect and include their family life and the people that they know. And it can become a much, the ripple effects of what you're doing can be really huge and last a long time, don't they?
That is the hope. That is really what I'm working hard for. I feel like it's my cellular purpose to do this. Nothing makes me happier than doing this. And I never feel like I work. They say, do what you love and you never work a day in your life. And it's so true.
That is true.
Yeah, it's beyond true. And so I'm just excited to get out there and help businesses really maximize their human potential and, become innovative and unstoppable.
And you unstoppable, you are. You're really pretty amazing, because you keep on learning. And what's the computer language that you're learning? By the way,
Python.
By the way, I wanted to mention this because my nephew, who's another one that I was having dinner with him, he's in AI. No, not in AI. He was in a programmer, and he worked for companies and stuff. And I said, so what exactly is it that you do? And that's when I lost him again. I couldn't make the head nor tail of what he was talking about, because he mentioned that there are like 5 or 6 or 7 different computer languages, and you have to keep
There's tons.
And you have to keep learning them. And
yes,
you're always learning. You're always going to school. And if you don't have an aptitude for that, then you're not going to be as successful as somebody who's always inquisitive, always learning. Am I right?
Absolutely. In fact, one of my favorite things in the world, I guess, I don't know if I'd call it an accomplishment, just a cool note, but I have a newsletter on LinkedIn called the Boxless Leadership Revolution. And one of the posts that I made said, questions are the breadcrumbs of innovation. And that particular article got a heart reaction from the 9th chief of NASA, who now follows my newsletter and actually is a first connection of mine on LinkedIn and has slid into my DMs and had a conversation with me, telling me how excited he is to see fellow, pioneers doing big things. And I mean, as a self-taught physics nerd, I nearly fell out of my chair. I mean, Luke Skywalker might as well have walked into my bedroom. Like, I was so excited. And, so you can do such amazing things if you just, have the opportunities to give your people the opportunity to do amazing things, and then sit back and watch your company explode,
And the really cool thing about what you do is you help companies, help employees understand that they can do things that they didn't think they can do, and may have that aptitude for things that they didn't know they had aptitude for.
Right. Finding out those hidden assets. It's really cool. I have a Boxless toolkit that has a bunch of different PDFs that walk companies through doing these things. And one of them is a hidden skills inventory that kind of teaches you how to figure out, what questions to ask, what to do to figure out what those hidden skills are in your team, and how to really, and then coming in with the cellular DNA, work DNA alignment, figuring out how to integrate that with physics, and it's a very unique approach, but I think it's very powerful. I think that a lot of change is going to come from it.
And I hope so. So if somebody again wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Honestly, the very best way is on LinkedIn, looking me up. And it's actually just linkedin.com/in/boxlessbusiness. Or they can email me at LaPlante@boxlessbusiness.com, either or.
Oh, very good. And so what's next on your agenda? I know your brain is always thinking of something.
Well, you asked me about coding Python, and the reason behind that is Python is the language that is primarily used in data science, and it's also used to program AI-powered things. And so right now for companies, I provide assessments that I build manually using AI and, my knowledge of the industry and all that good stuff. And of course, they're specifics that we go over together. But eventually, I'd like to be able to have my own AI-powered assessment generator that generates AI-powered assessments. And so that way I don't have to do it manually anymore. I'm big on work smarter, not harder. That is my life motto. And so that's my next thing right now, is just building that out. And, that's going to be probably a few months, but, it doesn't mean I can't take clients in the meantime. That's my personal pet project. So I only work on that on my R&D day.
Well, and the other thing is that as you continue to develop that can become a worldwide thing, where eventually you can just go online and say, what am I good at? And there can be an assessment, and you can learn what they would suggest that you spend your time learning.
Yes. Well, the ultimate goal for me, the tool that I'd like to build is to be able to house each of the company's assessments in their own portal, and each, having a login. So you have your candidate login where they can apply, take assessments for open positions. You have your current employee login tier where they can upskill and see what they're good at and whatever. And then you have your C-suite executive tier where the leaders can log in and generate reports that say, okay, these are the people that are killing it in these skills, or even generate an AI powered overview using, because I intend to teach it my method, of how to best, basically an AI version of my consultancy service. And that way, they can just go on to the website, enter in all the parameters they want, get it generated, and be going, right? But for now, you have to deal with me and my shining personality while I do it manually. So
and Melissa's got a wonderful shining personality. So go to boxlessbusiness.com and visit with her. Melissa LaPlante has been our guest, and I want to thank you so much for being here. Sadly, we've run over time, which my human assistant gets a little irritated about, but that's life. And thank you so much for being here on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.